Good morning. It's October 18th. It's a nice, brisk fall day outside. It's homecoming day. My name is Julia Roussel. I have my co-host Mikey May, and we are currently interviewing the mayor, Mr. Napolitani. And so how are you today?
Julia, I'm impressed you said it the right way. You didn't chop it up. You didn't destroy it. Your dad can be very proud of you right now. Yeah, thanks for having me in. I think this is good. I, try and being a little educated by you guys. We utilize the TV a lot with our meetings and stuff. So Mike and Gina have been telling me, they're like, you guys have to get into like 2024 here, where you're doing the podcast or you're getting out on YouTube and stuff. So this gets, I think, a little better connection with people. So, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, so you're a OT grad. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your growing up here in Ocean?
A lot of fun. My father had a Carvel in Wanamassa. So a lot of friends of mine that I, grew up with worked for my dad. Mike's sisters, Stacy and Roxanne, they both worked there. They were a year ahead of me in high school. I was class of 89. They were 88. My wife now, she was class of 87. 4 of my kids went here. My son John, he's at FSU. Our daughter Julia is at ASU. My son Nick's at Brookdale. We had one that went to NYU, and we have one out in Colorado right now. So, growing up in Ocean was great. I mean, this town has, it's changed. It's changed tremendously. But, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of growth in town. I've seen a lot, like it's, your parents went here. A lot of us stuck around and didn't go anywhere. Last night I was at an event. We had one of them, class of 88, Beth Beggins, who's a Stavola now. She's opening a business in town right after the first of the year. I was there with another friend of mine from class of 89. So there were, a lot of us stayed around the area and in some cases married other graduates, so it's cool. It's a great town.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. And with like time going on and everything, and you seeing the growth in Ocean, what would you say like your plan is to reach like our generation?
I think right here is a great first start. You guys you guys all grew up with technology. Okay, I was not as fortunate. I was on probably the beginning stages of the internet and, learning about the computers. I went through all of grammar school with no computer. And then when I was in 8th grade, I went to St. Mary's Catholic School up till 8th grade, and then I went to public school. We had 2 computers in the entire school. Internet came out when I went to college. So for me, it's been, I took a lot longer to learn how to use a lot of things, and I'm in the stages, but you guys that grew up with it, you can connect a lot better. But the only problem with your connecting is you're disconnected too. None of you guys want to pick up a phone and call anybody. Everybody wants to text. So, I like face-to-face. I like to meet with people. I can't stand Zoom meetings. I'd rather be in a room with somebody. I just think you need that personal touch, and you guys aren't used to that. Like you're used to the Zooms. You guys went through COVID. I mean, I couldn't even sit still during COVID. I don't know. And look, I teach, and we were doing it online, and I'm like, oh man, these kids have to be tortured. And you'd get online, and you'd see the screen, and who's falling asleep, who's not, doing what so it's just different today, totally different with connecting with you guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'd say Zoom and COVID in general was something that drew us back a little bit and wasn't a great experience.
Drew me back? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys went so far backwards, but it's our jobs as teachers to get you guys ahead again and get you where you need to be in the real world. I find my youngest son, Nick, who graduated here in
22.
There you go. All right, you got it.
That's a boy.
So he was 20. Let me see. COVID was 2020, so he literally had most of his high school career under COVID. So what I see with him compared to John, who was class of 2020, who was the first COVID class to come out, which, you know, he lost out on a prom. He lost out on a real graduation.
Yeah.
And Nick went through the COVID thing, but I think the problem, you know, when I look at the two boys, and, you know, it's funny, you know, Nick struggled more, I think, with, you know, with this whole online thing. John, you know, was at the end and ultimately went down to college at Florida State University, and he's doing well. I mean, he's the one that I didn't think would, you know, get in and get into it and go to school. But, you know, it was tough. COVID definitely changed everything for us. You know, the way we communicate, the way we, you know, get out, the way we're in front of people. So, you know, I was a very strong proponent when we went onto Zooms on council. It was 2020, so I had literally just gotten elected to my first term. I had been chosen as deputy mayor, and you know, we're on these Zoom meetings, and then you know, the first couple of months it was cool. You know, you're home. I didn't have to worry about going to town hall. You know, literally sitting in my office in my house doing my meetings, you know, and you see everybody on screen that's from town, they're watching the meetings. The novelty for me wore off real quick. Now, there's a lot of people that enjoy being home and sitting and not wanting to go to an office. I couldn't wait until they allowed us to go back, because that was one of the things that I felt really strongly about. I'm like, you know, I don't want to be home having a meeting. I think I need to be in front. And then my boards, like my planning board, my zoning board, my DLA commission, they were all still, like when we went back live, they still did the Zoom meetings. And I got some pushback from, you know, the ones that ran the meetings. And then ultimately they went back live, because I just think you need to be in front of people. I don't like, you know, being behind a screen. Like we call them keyboard bandits. You know, it's like I'd rather be out front. You know, say what you have to say to me in person.
Yeah, face-to-face connection is really important. You said you were a teacher?
Yes.
So how did you end up getting into politics? Like, how did this eventually develop?
Okay, so I got involved in the mid-1990s. I started on the DLA Commission. I was a representative. So DLA Commission comprises 7 towns. You have Deal, Neptune, Ocean Township, Interlaken, Asbury Park, Allenhurst, and Lock Arbor. So those are the 7 towns that comprise the DLA Commission. I was the Interlaken representative for about 7 or 8 years. I served on there. I was the secretary, and then I took when I was in Interlaken, when I lived there in the late 90s, I met a friend of mine who became a very good friend of mine, Bob Napoli. He was very, very involved in politics, and we got a little aggravated at the way our government was running. So you know, there's 2 parties, main parties in politics, Republicans and Democrats. I flipped my party affiliation because I couldn't get anywhere running and they wouldn't let me run. So I opted to switch parties, and then I could run because nobody ever ran in the other party. And then what happened was I got elected by a very, very small margin. And it was pretty shocking when I got elected, because that party had never been in at all. So I was a councilman for 3 years, and then I got chased out of office. And I'm going to tell you a quick one on the politics and how, you know, I use this story all the time, and it's primarily for you guys to never give up. So I run, and never ever give up is a term that we use with Mile and Terry Foundation. That's where that came from. And I utilize that statement a lot because I lost my reelection, which was a killer for me in my hometown. And then I ran for mayor the following year and lost that. And then thought I was done. I gave up the DLA commission, and I got chosen to run as a Democratic candidate for New Jersey State Assembly in 2007. There were 2 open seats at the time. I ran against the other party, and they all became friends of mine after I ran, and I lost that race too. And then I moved back to Ocean Township in 2011. Actually, 2009 I moved back here. 2011, I decided to run for the Board of Education. I lost that race too. So you got to think, all right, my career is over. Okay, I'm not going to be involved in politics. I'm out. But then in 2015, I don't know what happened. I decided I was going to run for council. That was the year that, we have a May election, which is odd. Most of them are November. So it was going to be a pretty contested race. And the mayor at the time came to me and he said, look, can you not run? And I said, all right, look, I'm not going to run. But I said, I want to be considered for an open slot. So 2017, a slot opened up, and I got considered. I interviewed against 5 people and got chosen, but then I had to run for that slot in November. So I got chosen in January of 17, and I got chosen, but then I had to run myself in November, and I got extremely lucky. Nobody ran against me that November. So I ran, I got elected, and then a year and a half later, I had to run again, because I was only in an unexpired term. So 2019, we had a ticket that got put together. People ran against us. We got elected. I got chosen as deputy mayor. My mayor resigned October 2022. He became the superintendent of elections. So that's when I got chosen as mayor. But then I had to run again in 2023 in May, and got reelected. And my whole team got on, and they chose me as mayor, and I sit in this spot for 4 years. I have a deputy mayor, David Fisher. He also graduated from Ocean Township High School. Kelly Terry, she's on council. She graduated. The two of them graduated in '85. So, that's how I got involved in there. Simultaneously, when I was running for my first election ever, I got a new job as a teacher in Asbury Park. So it was interesting. I didn't get trained as a teacher. I went alternate route. I started as a second grade teacher. So I've taught second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, science, in-school suspension, alternative class setting, dean of students, and now I'm back into a dean position over in school in Asbury Park, in the Asbury Park Middle School.
Wow.
Or the Dr. Martin Luther King Middle School. So that's where I'm at now.
Wow, what a career this far.
Yeah, that's rattle it off pretty quick, huh?
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuff. I mean, you've done so much in the town. What would you say is like some of your best memories of Ocean Township?
I'll tell you, I like the fact that you have the questions. I'm glad Mr. Polano got stuff together here. Very impressed. What do I like the most about this town? We're diverse. It's a great municipality. Now, when I grew up here, their traffic wasn't as bad as it is today. You could get around. I grew up on the east side of town, so I was always riding my bike up to my father's store in Wanamassa, which was on Sunset Avenue, and then I would go from the store over to CV Square Mall, and at the time we had CV Square Mall. We had arcades in there. You had all sorts of stores. Rizzo's Pizza was in there at the time, and they had a food court. That was fun for us. Me being able to ride my bike down to the beach was awesome. Matt Hoyle, you mentioned him earlier. Matt used to ride to my house, and it would be me, Matt, and we'd meet up with another friend of ours, Jim Basilici, and we'd ride down, and we would be down at Lock Harbor Beach from like 9 in the morning till 6 at night until we started to work our part-time jobs. I had a great time working for my father. I met so many people, and people say to me, how do you know so many people? Well, my family, they were always in business. I went to 3 different schools, so I met 3 different sets of people. I went to St. Mary's, I went to St. Rose for a couple of years, and then I went to Ocean Township. I didn't go through the elementary system here. My parents forced me to go to Catholic school. Hated every minute of it, but gave me a good base. So, we had that. St. Mary's was located on Wickapeco Drive. That's, it's no longer there. So I could ride my bike there. We could ride our bikes down to the beach, and it was just a real fun place to grow up. But as time went on, you guys have no idea, but it's changed tremendously. And it's not changed bad. It's actually, we're in a really good position right now in this town. I mean, I'm extremely lucky because we have a very well-run town. You guys are very, very lucky. You know, you're in school. You're in a phenomenal school system. Your superintendent's doing a great job. You know, we as a council now, we're trying to just improve the town. And there's things that we're looking at, you know, over a period of time, things that I'm, you know, looking forward. I don't like to look short term. I like to look long term and see what we need to do to improve our municipality. We're looking at Highway 35 with Netflix coming in. I mean, you're basically going to have a mini Hollywood come in up the street. So for us, it's, you know, looking at Highway 35 and how we can improve that. I'm looking at flooding. So there's, you know, a lot of aspects to the town. Obviously, when I grew up, we didn't have as much traffic. But today, it's different. It's the 2000s. Everybody has a car. When I grew up, Asbury Park and Long Branch were dumps. They were not a place you went to, and people didn't flock to go to Asbury and Long Branch. And what a lot of people, I think, fail to understand in town when they're, because one of the biggest complaints is traffic. You go anywhere, there's traffic. I don't care if you're on Route 66, Route 36, Deal Road, West Park Avenue, Sunset Avenue. Everybody's cutting through Ocean Township to get to those beaches. Now, when we grew up, Asbury Park was horrible. You could shoot a cannon down the boardwalk in the middle of the summer and not hit anybody. That's how empty that boardwalk was. You know, it was like the late 2000s that Cookman Avenue started coming back, and then as that resurgence started, you know, our traffic flow was already starting to increase because we have people that are staying in town, you know, year round now instead of going home for the summer because it's a great place to live. So that's affected our traffic tremendously with more people living here, more development, which a lot of people don't like, but it's, you know, this is progress. These are private, you know, private pieces of property that are being developed, and they're being developed in a real nice way. I mean, and it's being done systematically. We're looking at impervious coverage so that we can, with the development that's going on, that we can limit the amount of coverage on the land. But a lot of thing is the traffic today, and that's because a lot of these towns on the shore are now successful, and they use us to cut through. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I mean, so, I mean, you get it. You go to the beach, you know.
It's a great place to be.
What beach did you grow up at?
Lock Harbor was the place to go. I mean, we.
Oh yeah.
So there was, you know, it was Village Beach Club, and then the private beach club was Lock Harbor Beach Club. So I worked at Lock Harbor Beach Club. Mr. and Mrs. DeSarno owned that, and a lot of us worked down there. Now I didn't work too long because it was $1.25 an hour you got paid, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Oh my
it was below
goodness.
minimum wage, and
Whoa.
I think I worked a week, and we weren't getting any tips, and somebody said, well, you know, you get tips at the end of the year. And I'm like, I'm going to work all summer for $1.25 an hour. I go and wait to see if I get it. Nah, that's not happening. So, you know, I worked for my dad, and then when I started to drive, I got a job on a Coca-Cola route. So I was working 2 jobs in the summer, you know, and honestly, I didn't really want to go to college when I graduated here. I didn't want to go. My mother kind of forced me, and you know, education was big with my grandfather, and you know, he felt that we should be educated. And my sister, who works in the middle school, Mrs. Fornicola, I don't know if you guys remember her, but she's over there. My sister had gone a couple years, and she was going to be a teacher, and then she didn't like it. My brother went 3.5 years and didn't graduate. My other brother didn't go, so they were kind of leaning on me to go to school, and I'm like, God, I don't really want to go. So I went to Monmouth College at the time. And I struggled. I struggled my first 2 years because I just wasn't into it. I was working on the Coca-Cola route. I was working for my dad. I was pumping gas. I wanted to make money. I didn't really care about school. It was my 3rd year of college that I buckled down a bit. I got into my main core of classes in business, and then I did well. But one thing I'll tell you guys, and it's you get into college, take it seriously from year 1 on, because that GPA ultimately hurt me when I went for another job over in the school district that I work in, because I could have had another different type of degree had I had a different GPA. But, it's because of my own fault. I played around and I didn't take it seriously. Like I said, the last 2 years, I blew it out. And if I had 4 years of that, I would have been in great shape. But, you just have to take it seriously from start.
So you went to school. What track did you end up going down? Like, what degree did you come out with?
So I came out with a Bachelor of Science, Business Administration. I had a double major in Management and Marketing. I did financial planning work for a while, worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield. Wasn't overly happy. My former wife at the time, I'd gotten her an interview in Asbury Park in 1997. She started to teach, and I was out of work at the time. It was like 98. So I went over there and I started the sub. And the principal took a liking to me. So he's like, you can go alternate route. I'm like, what's that? You take this test. It's a test of general knowledge. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I've never seen a test like this. It was like taking the bar exam. It was horrible. There was not one general question on this test. I said, if I pass, I'll go for the job. But I have to pass on the first shot. And I was hearing horror stories from people. They were all telling me, I failed, 5 times. I failed 4. I'm like, what? I go, this thing, I said, it's an elementary. I mean, how difficult. And I'll tell you what, there were pictures of art. There were all sorts. I'm like, I didn't know anything about art. I passed and got a great score. I was actually impressed with myself at this time. I'm like, how did I do that? So then I interviewed. I got the job. And now, of course, I'm running for election in Interlaken. I'm starting a new job. I just bought a house. And you talk about overwhelmed. But, got into it and, just used my degree to get into alternate route. That's how I did it.
I mean, that's an amazing thing. I'm going down an education route, so I think education is.
I think we should talk.
Important.
What do you want to teach?
I'm going for my early childhood.
Are you
education.
really?
Yeah, and I'm doing special education.
Jackie Philhauer, if you hear that in Asbury Park, we got a young man who's going to need a job in a few years.
Oh yeah.
We have a great early childhood department, but they have a great one here too.
And I'm staying local.
Are you really?
Oh yeah.
Wow, and you're serious on this, huh?
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, I've always wanted to.
Early childhood.
Yeah, always.
Do you want to go in admin when you're done?
No. I want to, so I dance outside of school, and I also want to keep that in my life.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So you could start a dance program?
Yeah, that's, doing that through education, but I've always wanted to be involved in early childhood.
Wow, that's so cool to hear that from a guy.
Yeah, no.
Because I'll tell you, when I had second grade, I went to my principal like a month into it. When a kid came up to me and they said, Mr. Knapp, I feel sick. I go, please sit down, please sit down. He was sick. He threw up all over my room.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I said to my principal, I'm like, listen to me. You got to get me out. You got to move me up. I have to go to 5th grade. That was the highest grade level that was in that building at the time. And he got me out. He got me into 5th grade. And it was a lot more fun because I met, I don't know, you guys are too young for the Golden Girls, but there was a TV show called The Golden Girls. It was 4 old women that would sit around. They all lived together. So I get hired in Asbury Park, and I'm a young kid. I'm in my 20s. And I get into the lunchroom. Everybody told me to stay out of the lunchroom. They're like, stay out of the lunchroom. Stay out of the lunchroom. All they do is talk, and they're just miserable. So I hook up with these older women, and I start calling them the Golden Girls. And I love them because they were great. And one of them is like a second mom to me, Bonnie Cohen. She lives up here in Cedar Village. And it was funny because I latched onto them and learned a whole different aspect of teaching and, different camaraderie with that group. And then I had my younger group that we used to hang out with. And, a lot of my friends, I'm in there 26 years now. I'm, 53, I'm going to be 54. Most of my friends are gone. And people that the other position I have over there is I'm president of the union. So I deal with all of the staff in Asbury Park School District that are, teachers and support staff. So I deal with a lot of staffing as president of the union. I represent over 300 people. So my job now is turned into a hybrid. I have a position in the middle school where I deal with discipline, and then I shift into my union duties, and I can represent my staff and go to other buildings. Like today, I'll go to probably 2 buildings. I'll go check on some staff that are having some, a few issues here. My superintendent and I have a great relationship. And I feel that that's important. I mean, it's about relationship building and, building up what you need to do.
Yeah, definitely. When did you stop teaching?
You mean actually be locked into a class?
Yeah, like no more classroom.
So I had a 3-year battle with a former superintendent who let's just say we were head to head, and he went against what as president, I had release time. They call it release time, and I had time at the end of the day, and they would put my prep and my lunch because, as a teacher, they get a prep, they get a lunch. Legally, that's in the contract. So he throws me into a class now. This was 2 years ago. So I'm in this Read 180 class. Like, I don't have a clue what this class is. And I got word literally 4 days before we were going to start school. This was August. I was on my way home from Florida dropping my son off at FSU. So it was, it was pretty emotional. My kid's leaving, and, him and I, we get along real good. He does drive me nuts once in a while, but he's fun. We have a good time. I was going to miss him, and I'm getting word, hey, you get moved into a class. I'm like, what do you mean moved into a class? He moved me into a class, and it was the wackiest schedule I ever had. I had my release time in the beginning, then I had like class. Then I would, once in a while, I would have a prep here and then class. It was all over the place. I had no time to get stuff done. And I'm in this class, but I told a couple friends of mine that knew it. I said, just do me a favor. Line me up. Just show me what to do, and you can leave. Don't worry about it. I'll figure this out. And I did, and my kids were, it's all based on scores, this Read 180. It was an intervention program. So their scores are going up, my report, and I'm not the easiest person to deal with in school. Like, I'm not the easiest teacher. My kids, I'm about discipline in the room so I can teach. So the kids actually, they liked me. They actually, which was a shocker too, that, as I am when I teach the way that I do things, they got it. Their scores were going up, but then he sent in supervisors to attack me, and basically the attack comes that you get bad evaluations. And I'm like looking at these evals, and I'm like, what is going on here? How am I getting these evaluations? And, I'd sit there and you do the rebuttal, and it was just a setup. So bottom line is, that was 2 years ago was the last time I actually had a class. But prior to that, I was out of the class, out of my own classroom for about it's been like 8 to 10 years, and 8 years before that, and probably another few, So it's been 10, 12 years.
So you finished your teaching career in a literary intervention position.
Yeah, and it's not, my teaching career is not over. I mean, I'm still there. Yeah. I'm still in a teaching role, but I serve in 2 roles. As president, I got elected a few years ago, 2 years ago. After this year, I have 1 more year left on my term, and then I'm done. I've been president for 20 years.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow.
It's a long time. And to deal with staffing, I was good friends with Mr. Riley, who was president of your teachers union here, and now Ms. Connolly is the president of the Teachers and Support Staff Union. So we have I have relationships with all my presidents and stuff. But I've definitely got it in my head that I'm done after this term, and it might be sooner. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot on your plate.
I do. I do, and I own 2 businesses as well.
Oh, wow. So do you want to go in a little bit about that?
I own a pressure washing business and snow removal.
Wow.
I have a partner, Matt Artizone, him and his wife. They live in Ocean. Their kids are actually same grade as my 2. So we got friendly. They got hired in Asbury Park with me, Matt and Cynthia. And, the kids were in the same grade level. Nick and Adriana were the same grade. They have the same birthday, too, which is wild.
That's crazy.
They're both September 25th. And John and Alex are the same grade. So it was fun. Matt and I have had the business for 15 years. We started out just pushing snow to get people out of their parking spaces in Asbury, and I stuffed some money aside, and he said, let's, expand, and, we got to plow. And at the time I was, if I went out at night and I had the kids, because I was separated and divorced at the time, and I had my kids and they were young, they'd stay at the Artisans for the night, and we would go out plowing snow, and it was fun. It's been a good business for us. It was a good supplement. It's not full time. And, I've had it. I don't even really leave Ocean Township with the pressure washing anymore, because there's a lot of business in town. If I get another position at school, I might have to unload that business. And this may actually be my last year of snow removal. Matt and I are, maybe going to wind down. We're going to see how much longer we do it. But it's been 15 years. It's a lot of work. And, there's a lot that goes with it. I mean, it's not like I just go out and work. I have to do contracts. I have to do billing, payroll. You got to do accounting with it. It's a lot. Yeah, I took on way too much. I've figured out what I'm unloading first off my back, and once I get these things off, I think by next summer, I feel like I'm going to be in a much better position mentally, so that I can deal with a couple of things instead of 42 things in the 18 jobs I have. Yeah.
You wanna?
You mentioned the Maya and Terry Foundation earlier. So, do you want to talk about a little bit about like your charity?
Sure.
Things and.
Sure.
whatnot?
So, let's start off with the first event I'm doing. I have a charity golf tournament coming up on October 30th. It's for the Women's Club. My wife and a bunch of younger women from Ocean joined up the Women's Club, which is on Wickapeco Drive. And the ladies, they've been struggling. They need to put a roof on, and I go over there and plow the snow for them for nothing, and because they're trying to raise funds. So, my wife Michelle was really bothering me about the golf tournament. We need some money. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the golf tournament over to you. We usually do a Community Hope Fund, but I knew the ladies needed the money, and Community Hope Fund, they've always been a good partner, and we've donated money to them in the past with the Mayor's Charity Ball. But I wanted to do something for the Women's Club, so they blew it out of the park. We sold out so quick that I have friends of mine that got blocked out of the tournament. It's at Hollywood Country Club. People want to play there, and it's a good moneymaker for them. I got them some sponsors, and they already contracted for the roof. Mile and Terry Foundation is the foundation that we linked up with in 2015 for the Mayor's Charity Ball. I'm a charter member of that. My son, John, was actually Maya's little boyfriend when they were, in school together. John would go spend time with Maya when she was sick. He actually went down to St. Jude's, spent about 3 or 4 days down there. When she came home, he wouldn't leave the hospital. I would call Kelly up. I'm like, you sure you want, is that okay? And Kelly's like, no, it gives me a break. She said, I appreciate it. John would not leave her side. It was, it was amazing what he did. And after Maya passed, Kelly didn't bury her head in the sand. Kelly started the Mile and Terry Foundation. And you guys all know who Kelly is. You know who her nephew is, Kenny Pickett. I mean, he's, one of our biggest stars out of Ocean Township High School. And so Kelly, if you know Kelly, she's amazing. Like, just what she can put together. I'm around a lot of good women. I have to say, I've got Kelly. I've got my wife who she's starting a medical company.
Wow.
And I had a phenomenal deputy mayor under me too, another woman. But Kelly didn't bury her head in the sand. You're talking about losing a child. It's the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And Kelly went full throttle on, I'm going to make sure I help people out, because I had the means to take care of my daughter when she was away, and I needed hotel rooms, and we were out of work. And, Kelly, was able to shift back and forth. Extremely supportive family. I mean, the Picketts and the Terrys, you're talking, and the Irvins, I mean, they're institutions here. Her father, big builder here in town, just a great guy. So Kelly has raised, I think we're over $1.5 million right now.
Wow.
And it's money. We're zero cost foundation. Like, everything is, when I tell you everything is volunteer, everything is volunteer. Even the volunteers pay to go to the events. So it's a straight moneymaker. The charity ball raised over $60,000 last year, which was, phenomenal. I reached out and I thank my professionals because they're the ones that my attorneys, the engineers, people I know, friends I've made along the way that, want to help me, help a charity out. So, we've done that. We've done Community Hope Fund, Community Celebration Fund. I've been, excited about, you take this position as mayor and you do something with it. It can be an easy job and you can lay back and do nothing, or it can be an easy job and you can do good for the community. And if you don't take what you have and you try to do better with it, then what's the point? I'm in a role. I might as well use it and, raise some money for some good causes. For me, that's one of the fun pieces about being in my role, being able to leverage my position so that I can do better. And that's what I've been trying to do all along. And, that was one of the first things that I, got involved in. Even before I got on council, when I went to Mayor Siciliano and he had taken over, and I said, Chris, let's blow this, this mayor's ball up. And, he, basically I worked with him on the 2015 one, and it was great. We had a, great crowd, raised a lot of money. We split between Maya Lynn and Community Hope Fund, and then we shifted straight to Maya Lynn because Kelly was doing an incredible amount of work, and we wanted to raise some good funds for the foundation.
Yeah, they hold it down, Kelly, and they have their little spot in Cobblestone.
Yeah. That's Casey. She's got OC Boutique.
Yeah.
My wife's a big spender over there.
Oh my gosh, you don't understand. I have a sister and a mom. It is elite.
Yeah.
I just hit up OC. That's my cheat code.
You can't beat OC Boutique. They've got some great stuff. We've gotten gifts from there from people that have, they have some pretty cool machines in there.
I literally have I have things that I've given to people at the beach. I always go do the wood press thing where they burn
Is that
into
machine
it.
cool or what?
Oh, it's great.
The way it zips it on?
I think I've had at least 15 gifts that have been something like that. It's like a picture frame or
I could go in there and just stare at that machine and watch it print. It's
it's
the
great.
Greatest thing.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, Casey, she did a great job over there. With that business, it's it's a great little boutique. I know they were looking to get a little more space because, but I think their spot right now,
it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Spot.
Yeah, it's perfect, and they just the family just gives back, and they're good people. Kenny kind of, he did the golf tournament this year for Maya Lynn, and that tournament was, they had 2 rounds of it. It was, morning and an afternoon, and it was the whole day there. I played in it, played horribly, but, it's a lot of fun, and you talk about somebody who took a tragedy and turned it into, something where you can give back. Not that it makes it better, but you're helping people out through their time. And, I think what they've done has just been fantastic, with raising the money and helping, and helping a lot of people out in town whose kids have cancer. And, we've lost a lot along the way. Next weekend, we go to the Francis Foundation. Kelly always invites my wife and I. We'll go to that. That's a big fundraiser for cancer as well. And when you go to that, that's such a gala event. They get about 1,000 people. And there's warriors, which are the kids battling the cancer, and then there's the angels, the ones who's passed away. So they do a video, they do all sorts of stuff. It's one of my favorite events that I go to. It's emotional, it's sad because you're watching the kids, that are sick, and you're watching the video of the ones who passed away, but it's also a night that you have a good time, and it's really emotional up and down. So I've really, seen a lot with, and learned a lot too. And honestly, Kelly, with her foundation, I know of anybody that gets sick immediately. A friend of mine at work, Jackie, her daughter got brain cancer. And immediately I went right to Kelly and said, Kelly, let's get him in the foundation. And Kelly's on it immediately. immediately. I mean, it's like, she'll hook them up with all the different foundations. And it's, some of us don't necessarily need the financial support, but it's the emotional support. It's the, all right, we're going to send this kid on a cruise that's battling cancer. And, that's, a whole other foundation. And the foundation's all intertwined. So Kelly's got her piece with Maya Lynn. France's foundation has their piece. And they intertwine, they work together, and they're always trying to help people out. When a parent's going through a struggle like that, they need help. They need to, even if it's just emotional support. So it's been, we feel good about what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really incredible what they're doing and how they're like helping the community. It's crazy.
Yeah, and outside the community too.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelly, she's done studies of cancer clusters, and that's been a big battle too. Like, what is a cancer cluster? What deems it a cluster? What deems it to be studied? And if anybody can get stuff done, it's Kelly. She's she gets it done. But she's definitely a go-to with any of that stuff. She, and if she doesn't know it, she looks it up. She finds it out. She'll help you. I call her all the time, and she'll tell me, look, I'll find out.
Yeah.
This is amazing. So I've been hearing about this charity golf tournament. I've been hearing a little bit about the 10th hole. Can you tell me about that?
All right, so we just opened the 10th hole golf simulator building after Mayor Chris Siciliano. That's a cool building. So I was in there the other day looking at it for my clerk to see if we could make that a polling location. It's actually perfect because so there's a meeting room in there, which is great. So you can actually have a party. We have 3 simulators on one side and then one private one off to the right when you walk in. So if you want private lessons, you can go over there. If you want to just go in, you can pop in there for, hour or so. You can buy a membership. We undercut the other golf caves because our rec director, did a study, and he's, this was his idea to put this golf center together. What we did over there was we created a golf utility. So we have the golf course, we have that. All of the money that's made at the golf course gets spent at the golf course, so it doesn't really even come out of our budget. So that's a plus to the town. So you've got the golf course, the golf simulator building, and we can rent that out for, parties, whatever you want. I thought, it's a cool spot for, a guy having a, 40 or 50th birthday, have maybe 25, 30 of your friends in there or more. The space is pretty decent. The charity golf tournament, that's going to be over at Hollywood. So, I had somebody ask me, why don't you do it at Colonial Terrace? Colonial Terrace is a 9-hole golf course. And pretty much anybody can go to Colonial Terrace. But Hollywood, it's a private club. And people will pay a lot more money to go be able to play there once in a tournament, in a charity tournament, than they will over on our course. Our course we use, Mayor Siciliano used to have a golf tournament there. It was his Mayor's Cup. And it was more of a, day you get out there and, you do the rounds and have lunch and stuff. And it's a fun day. This is more of a charitable, let's make some money in there.
Yeah.
And Hollywood has always been known as being probably one of the best courses around. I mean, it is a gorgeous course, and people. Do you play, by the way?
I do not play golf.
Well, you better start.
A lot of my friends work the 10th hole.
Do they?
Yeah.
All right.
Couple
How do they
of my
like
boys, it? They love it. They think it's awesome.
So Mike is their boss, and he's a great rec director. Mike. So the whole team in Ocean Township has changed in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
From the manager all the way down to all our directors. He has hired phenomenal staff here in Ocean Township. We have a public works director who, he's accessible, he's available, never says no about stuff. It's great, even if we know we're going to get in trouble, which, we don't get in trouble. We just ask for forgiveness. But he does a lot. My manager, he's attentive. If he's phone constantly, text, go in. I met with him yesterday. So, we have human services, over on Deal Road. Our police department, by far, the other night we swore in 6 brand new police officers, and it was such a great event. We haven't done a swearing in a couple years. Like, we got away from that COVID again.
COVID.
Yeah.
Here we go, COVID. So the chief said, I want to swear in these guys. And it's like, the one guy, I'm like, when'd you get on? He's like, yeah, 2 years ago. I'm like, okay. So the room was packed, and we never packed a room for a council meeting because, we advertise and we try to get people out. What some people don't understand is when you don't have a crowd at the council meeting, it usually means people are okay with what's going on in town. So they're not upset.
Yeah.
You get people at a meeting, they're upset. They're mad about something. But, my assumption is they're not complacent and they're good with everything that's going on. We get our complaints about the roads, get the complaints about the planning department, but we have a new planner in there too, and she's working on that department. And the chief really built up the morale in the police department after we lost a lot of upper brass guys. But we have a lot of younger guys in here right now, guys and girls that are, working in the police department. The chief, he gets called. I get called for, we've had a lot of robberies on the east side of town, car thefts, burglaries, but it's happening everywhere. And we had a meeting with the chief. He was, very, very attentive to the needs of the residents on that side of town. We had the county prosecutor came in, and it was, he basically gave the lay of the land on the robberies. So, yeah, I mean, there's, a lot of things. I'm very, very pleased with how the town's running. We have a CFO who, manages the money for us and seems to find what I need when we need it to get stuff done. We've done a lot of work in our parks. If you notice, most of our parks have been updated and upgraded. Mike Patrico, who's the director, has gone, he comes to us with proposals and, we're like, yeah, let's do it. And we have an open space trust fund that we did, I think like maybe 7 years ago. I think that's when we voted on it. And that money, it's for the purchase to keep open space, preservation and improvement of open space. We had, and I'm glad you asked me about the 10th hole and how I segued into this because this came up last week that we were using that money improperly, which is 100% false. We're allowed to use the money to update and upgrade the parks for our recreation. It's for the municipality. It's for us. Let's put it this way. You buy property, you have to maintain it. The money has to come somewhere. So it comes out of the trust fund. And this way, we can do the upgrades and the updates to our parks and recreation without adding an additional tax onto the people or without increasing that rate there so that we can do all that work. Mike, who constantly comes to us with different ideas, the Kenny Pickett Field, we were going to go turf over there. And Mike came in and he's like, Mayor, he's like, this is going to be $2 million for the turf. And then we want to put lights in. I'm like, we got a plan B here. I'm like, because, we were all set. We were excited. We were going to do turf. But honestly, turf is great. But the problem is you have to actually put enough money away for 10 years to replace that turf. So if it costs me $2 million, I might have to replace it in another 10 years for another $1 million. We're better off doing, so his backup plan was we're going to do updated irrigation. We're going to resod. We're going to put lights in, and then we're going to see how the improvement of that field goes for that practice field over there where Kenny, practice and stuff. But we're getting, our funding and stuff. That's how we do it, and we're constantly looking at updates and upgrades. For a long time, we kind of didn't do a lot of stuff like that. We didn't have the open space trust fund. We didn't have that money that was in that till, but now we know we can do all this extra stuff because when the trust fund was set up, the property values were about $4.5 billion. So 1% of that's $450,000 that goes into the trust fund every year. Well, now that same percentage, we have $9 billion. So it basically doubled. So we were able to purchase Kepwell, which, we put the Mile and Terry Park over there, which Kelly donated. And, Where Angels Play came in and did a partnership. They installed it for nothing. The PBA, Local 57, they donated breakfast and lunch and sent volunteers. The Where Angels Play is retired firemen and first responders that started this after the Sandy Hook shooting. And they've built parks all over the world. and Kelly partnered up with them. And I'll tell you, Bill Lavin, who runs that foundation, was a guy I met when I ran for state assembly in '07, and we reconnected at this park. And I got to tell you something. It's like we reconnected, and it was great to see him doing good as a retired fireman, not sitting around doing nothing. He's constantly looking for different parks that they can put in. It's a lot of coordination with the local government, where you're going to put it and where the entity's going to be. But that park is gorgeous up there at Kepwell. So we were able to buy that property, and now we're able to maintain the properties all throughout the town. Palea Park, we can use the money from the trust fund. Kepwell, which is open space, we can use it there. So we're pretty fortunate there. We've got, the ability to, flooding's a big issue. So we're doing stream cleaning right now. We're able to take some of the money from the trust fund because the stream goes through Palea Park, and we're able to clean out the stream so that the water can flow and get out. That's, things that we can do with the trust fund, which, we didn't have the ability to do before. And it's really, really good for you guys growing up and, seeing our parks get improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of improvements
Yeah.
happening.
Oh, yeah.
As we close this out, can you just tell us your favorite Carvel ice cream flavor?
Believe it or not, I was vanilla, soft vanilla with chocolate sprinkles. That was always my fave. I mean,
Soft serve's the best. Their soft serve is.
Dad would make some
sprinkles.
other ones that were good. Pistachio was always
Yeah.
good, and peanut butter crunch, that was a good one. But probably just that and peanut butter crunch. That's always
Yeah.
I'm a peanut butter guy.
yeah. It was good.
Well, thank you for talking with us today.
Absolutely.
And that's the Spartan update. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Are we
off?
good?
All right.
Good, Jack?